Welcome back, designers. Today we're talking about posters. Now, no other graphic design format has probably been as successful in capturing the attention and hearts of everyone. Museum curators, art critics, social historians, and people like us, the public. Our first exposure is usually personal. Can talk today. We hang posters in our homes, usually in our bedrooms, for a variety of reasons. We might simply like the imagery, or we might identify with the subject matter, or perhaps we find the poster to be an expression of our individuality. It's fascinating that in an age of moving images and motion graphics, a still form like a poster, a still form of visual communication, continues to hold our attention. Some examples of posters. We associate them a lot these days with movies. Music. Posters have a variety of purposes. They're often used in political campaigns, for social causes. They've been they've been around for a long time. That rally for the women's suffrage is vintage. That's from the 19 teens. It's over 100 years ago. For public health. Timely. Performance events, theater, opera, movies, TV. Sporting events. Boy, that came in slow. I'm not sure that was worth the wait. Music events. Oh, I must have hit the slow down filter on this. Oh my God. Right, I'm not going to change it now, but hopefully they'll be worth our while. We're almost finished with these. All right, so another area we use it in is advertising and branding. Conferences, classes, parties. Comic-Con. Simply put, a poster is a two-dimensional, single-surface format used to inform or to promote. They are produced in multiples and usually widely circulated. Posters are often displayed in numerous locations. Poster is seen while someone is on the move, driving, riding, or walking, so it must be engaging enough to capture a person's attention amidst all the other visual clutter of life. So you want to communicate a message and grab a viewer's attention. Now, before posters became a visual communication staple, broadsides or broadsheets were used to communicate ephemeral information. A broadside or broadsheet is a large sheet of paper typically printed on one side. That's a big name for just a big piece of paper. Broadsides were used to make announcements, publicize news and events, and promote merchandise in Europe. Broadsides played a role in colonial life as well. They're relatively inexpensive to produce and serve the purpose for local advertisers and for information seekers. That one on the left is literally for a reward for the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Cool, huh? So here is a delightful little video about the history of posters. It's either this or read several chapters of a book, so I thought you would probably rather have this.
The History of the Poster, the Belle Epoque, by Yanov Design. From 1890 to 1900, Europe and America were in a frenzy over a new form of advertising, a new form of art, the color advertising poster. The streets of Paris became filled with wonderful, colorful images created by some of the most talented artists of the day. It was all started by Jules Charest, the father of the poster, who did over 1,000 posters. He perfected color lithography, and his designs were seen all over Paris, which was then the center of the art universe. This was Paris at the time of the Moulin Rouge and the Folies Bergère, of the divine Sarah Bernhardt and the alluring Yvette Guibert, of the great artists Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, the most famous artist of the era, and Alphonse Mucha, the father of Art Nouveau, and later Cappiello, the father of modern advertising, each creating poster masterpieces. The poster was new, and the streets of Paris were like a public art gallery, advertising everything from cabarets to lamp oil. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, and the cities were filled with a new middle class which wanted to put art in their homes. The poster printers saw the interest and printed extra posters which were sold by print dealers. This is how the early posters survived. Posters were inexpensive and decorative, and people wanted to collect them. There were poster shows and exhibitions drawing thousands of visitors. There were poster collecting clubs and poster publications all over Europe and the United States. Antique posters are still collected to this day. These early posters are like windows to a time gone by, a time to be remembered, the beautiful era, the Belle Epoque. A Simple Understanding by Yanef Design.
Okay, we're off pause. Okay, so by 1900, color lithography allowed for color and nuance in poster reproduction, as we saw in the video. And colorful posters eclipsed the broadsides, the boring black and white large sheets that we just saw. In addition to the development of color lithography, there was also an upsurge in interest in the spare, strongly patterned, and asymmetrical graphic design that was being done with Japanese prints. Ukiyo-e was a stylized narrative, or is a stylized narrative Japanese art form that emphasizes flowing outlines, simplified forms, and a strong sense of design. This distinctive style of art flourished in Japan from the mid-17th to the mid-19th century. Many of these artists were masters of composition, color, and form. Artists such as Chirat, Toulouse-Lautrec, and Bonnard began to experiment with posters, abandoning type and weaving together hand lettering and evocative images. Basically, their styles were loosened up by what they were seeing in Japan. By the mid-1890s, the popularity of these new posters had become widespread. Exhibitions were being held, connoisseurs collected them, and their virtues were discussed in illustrated books and magazines. But what is lithography? I'm going to get into this in more detail when we talk about printing, but this is a few-minute video that just describes in very, very simple terms what it is. Okay.
Hi, I'm Julie from Abe Books. Lithograph is a printing term, but do you actually know what that means? The term comes from the Greek words for stone and to write. The technique works on the principle that water and grease repel each other. An image is applied to a stone surface using a greasy crayon, pencil, or other instrument, and then is covered with a thin layer of water. When ink is applied to the stone, it sticks to the greasy medium and not the areas where water is present. After some chemical processing, it's placed in a press and the image is transferred onto the page, creating a mirrored image. An original piece of artwork by a famous artist can be really expensive, but a lithograph can be affordable and still carries a tag of exclusivity, value, and quality. To learn more and to see a vast selection of lovely lithographs, visit abebooks.com.
All right, didn't I tell you that was short? I don't even think that was English that I just said. Didn't I tell you it would be short? Okay. Moving on, like all other graphic design, the success of a poster depends on expressing the design concept through a cooperative combination of text and image, interesting visualization, and careful and considered composition. The nature of designing for one large graphic service absolutely invites experimentation because of the limited space and how the elements need to work together to create a cohesive narrative message. Composition can be dominated by an image or by type. or by a visual-verbal amalgamation. So, what should a good poster do? And you're going to want to pay attention because you are going to be designing posters for your third project. Spoiler alert. Okay, it should grab attention. A poster can only persuade those who it attracts. It has to attract attention and pull someone in. It also has to be interesting enough for that person not to turn their head in another direction after a split second. Finally, the message of the poster has to call that person to action, has to persuade them to do something. One way to do that is to set yourself apart. Okay, so how you visualize and compose should create distinction, a unique look and feel, a mood or an emotional level for your subject. And that is done by all the elements, typeface, the whatever visuals you use, the placement, colors, all those things. And in this example of the Iron Giant, I mean, as most of us know, most film posters are photographically based, so to do something that is a simple line illustration automatically makes it jump out. You want to communicate key messages and meanings, and you do this most importantly through the use of visual hierarchy. You want to make sure that the right elements are read in the right order by your audience. In this case, you want to see the visual first, and then the no nuclear weapons headline, and then the smaller text. I mean, this does not have that much to it, so it's not as much of an issue. But definitely you want to guide the viewer's eye, which right here, that's what we're talking about. This one, the designer uses this big sea of black around these two symbols. It's crown and blood, which are two major symbols in the play, Macbeth. But there's not much going on here, but the most important elements are tied together and they are surrounded by this black, so the viewer's eye goes right to the most important element. So the poster as a format is an archetypal vehicle for expression. Posters can be powerful. As a mass communication vehicle, the poster can voice dissent, incite, propagandize, or inform. And each designer has the potential for uniquely affecting change. In a single visual, a poster can carry a message to everyone who see it. And that, my friends, is the finale of the lecture on posters. Go do your quiz. See you next class.